Received a letter or even had a visit from DCBL Debt? Receiving a letter from a bailiff can be very worrying, especially the thought of them coming to your home. To help tackle this, we'll look at some of the most important things you need to know when dealing with DCBL debt. Just to be clear, I don't give financial or legal advice, I'm just making sure that you have access to the information that you need to make informed decisions. When dealing with any individual or company chasing you for debt, the first thing you should do is determine if you're dealing with a debt collector or a bailiff. Debt collectors and bailiffs are very different. Whilst they both want to collect your debt, they have very different legal rights. Look closely at the individual or company name on any letters and perhaps do some digging online to be sure. How do you find out if DCBL debt is legitimate? If you don't recognise the bailiff's name, then you need to check its legitimacy. Firstly, the letter should have your correct name, address and information about the debt that you owe. It also needs to notify you at least 7 days in advance of the bailiffs visiting you. Next, it also has to be sent to you by a registered bailiff. You can check if the bailiff is registered by visiting the bailiff register. Once you've determined that DCBL debt is legit, you can move on to confirming that your debt is valid. If you know that you've already paid the debt, then contact DCBL Debt immediately and let them know that the debt is already paid. Be sure to have some evidence on hand when you do this. This process could take a little time, so remember to also ask them to freeze your account. You don't want them to show up at your door in the meantime. A really worrying question for many people is, can DCBL Debt force entry into your house? There's so much confusion about this, due in part to how much it gets dramatised in films and TV shows. The truth is that even if bailiffs show up at your door, you only have to let them in if they are allowed to force entry, which actually depends on the type of debt that you owe. Normally this is magistrates' court fines, tax debt and defaulting on controlled goods agreements. So when they show up, be sure to ask if they are allowed to force entry. They should be able to show you a warrant or a writ alongside court information with the details of your debt. DCBL debt can use reasonable force to enter, which means if they can't get in, they'll call a locksmith to get through the door. Somewhat less dramatic than kicking in doors or smashing windows like in a movie. Just to be clear, for many debts, DCBL debt can't actually force their way into your house. It all depends on the type of debt. Credit card debt, catalogue debt, unpaid parking tickets, none of them allow bailiffs to enter your home, so make sure you are aware of what kind of debt you owe. So can DCBL debt take things from your home? While bailiffs can seize possessions from your home in order to secure the debt, they can't just take anything. They can't take anything belonging to your children, your partner, or anyone who doesn't actually owe the debt. Additionally, they can't take pets and they can't take anything that you need to fulfill your basic domestic needs, like washing machines, mobile phones, or your cooker. They also can't take things you need to work or study, providing the value of the item isn't more than £1,350. While they can take your car, if you depend on it to get to work, they should leave you it. If your car is a motability vehicle or you have a blue badge, then again, it should be left for you. Probably more important than anything else is to understand what will happen if DCBL debt comes to your house. On their first visit, they won't actually take anything straight away. Instead, they'll want to make an inventory. They'll be working out what they can take, what they can't take, and the rough values. It's called taking control of your goods. If you're unable to make payments towards your debt, then they'll come back after 7 days and seize the items on the list to sell towards paying off your debt. You are allowed, and in fact, I'd urge you to review the list. Be sure to ask that they remove any items from the list which you believe they aren't allowed to take. Review the list before the bailiff leaves your home to make sure that it's correct. Also, during this first visit, you will need to agree to a monthly repayment plan for your debt. You should not sacrifice basic living costs or essential expenditures in order to pay off your debt. So try not to feel pressured to pay more than you can reasonably afford. If you feel that DCBL debt is asking you to pay more than you can afford, then talk to them and offer to provide proof of your income and your expenditures. Whilst it may feel like a lot of pressure on you, DCBL debt will be hoping to leave your house with the agreement signed and in place. So take the opportunity to talk it through with them and come to an arrangement that you feel you can manage. If you're struggling with debts, then there are options available here in the UK. Some are free to use and others include fees, and each will have their own pros and cons. If you want to find out about the debt solutions available, then we've created a really great form that you might be interested in. Click the link below to get started and answer a few multiple choice questions like the total amount of your debt, how many people you owe, your living situation, and we'll connect you with one of our trusted partners so that you can find out more and start taking steps towards improving your financial situation.